The Crash Course Podcast is brought to you in part by DerbyParts.com
and GH Graphics and their Junket Apparel line.
The 2015 Bash for Cash and Smash It Demolition Derby, Bull Lockwood Motorsports, and the 2015 Keystone Nationals.
Napa Winter Slam 2015
and Derby Inc. magazine. Live it, breathe it, be it, Derby Inc. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby Podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon. Episode number 71 on deck. A lot of caddy talk on the way. A couple of things that we need to touch base. First, before we do that, we got to let you know who's here. Brian has made the trip in, so excited to see him. He's braved the elements. There's a good look at Brian. And we've also got Ben joining us here in studios. Josh wisely opted to stay home. There's sickness raiding the Decker household, so we're going to go ahead and not miss him this week. You can go ahead and keep that down there.
Absolutely. It doesn't sound good.
That's not a good advertisement for Thrive.
No. Well, I know Josh wanted to be on for some of the Cadillac talk, but Josh likes his Cadillacs with rusty roofs and 22-inch rims on them, so he's really not going to miss a whole lot this week. We're gonna be talking with Troy Tag here, a very special guest. We're gonna be catching up with him here in just a few minutes. Chris Lancaster, in the wake of his run with tilted Cadillac and a seized up right front corner. He alluded that he had traded some text messages with one Troy Tag as he was going through the build process on that. I believe there's a car in Troy's garage right now that a couple of his boys are going to be working on in the background, so we might even get a couple of live how-tos, as it were. Unfortunately, I don't have a camera out there. But if you've been following all this stuff that's going on with Bo Lockwood, he's got the new logo out. So that's going to be showing up on BLMotorsports.net. We'll tell you a little bit more about Bo Lockwood later on. The Reckless Warriors logo is out there. He sent me a version of it, and it looks really, really cool. It's not going to reproduce very well on the air in that format, so we're trying to get a little bit better version of that so that we can show everybody what that looks like. But cool stuff going on there. And on the topic of Bo Lockwood Motorsports, Keystone Nationals, and Reckless Warriors, the Ciopas were down in Florida and bringing a ton of hardware back from their run down there. And we'll be seeing Bo, and we'll be seeing the Ciopas along with about 396 other of our closest friends in just a little over a week. Nice. You know, we're about 10 days away from the start of the Northeast Derby banquet. We're going to be going live there at about noon, and then we're going to be doing another show later on.
What time?
After noon.
You told me 11 the other day.
Yeah, because I want you there on time.
Wow, I've never been late to one of your shows ever.
No, the doors open. The doors open at 11 for setup, and I want you there to help.
You don't let us touch your equipment.
You also don't let me finish sentences.
Carry boxes.
Go on, Dad.
Carry boxes and stuff. We got all the Reckless Abandon stuff's going to be there. I think it was 11 last year, wasn't it? Because we did it. Didn't we go a little bit earlier just as they were opening the door so everybody was coming in? I think we did go at 11.
I don't know.
You wanted to make it before everybody started drinking.
I think we went from 11 to 12 last year.
Late.
What's that? Yeah.
I started drinking sort of early last year, so
I don't remember. Maybe it was 11. Anyways, we'll have a show poster out there with what the times and everything are, and I'll have the show post made so everybody can reference back to those. So if there's some confusion on it.
Friends of ours.
I thought I told you noon.
No, you don't. Friends of ours from the area here, the Eldridge family, Jamie and his wife, or Jamie and Bambi, and I think their youngest son Justin, were in Florida, and they had a thing. They were going to watch the Derby.
They want to watch the Derby.
And I said, cheer for the Ciopas. I said they are some good dudes. Yeah. So then they liked everything that was Ciopa where they're down there. So
perfect.
We got them. We Crash Course couldn't be there, but we had some designated fans down there to cheer for those guys. So it sounded like they had a good time. Tore some stuff up.
Tore each other up.
Yeah, tore each other up.
Tore each other up. Steve and Todd.
We looks like we might have some more friends from Iowa coming out east for the banquet next weekend.
Really?
Yep. I've been talking with Candace a little bit, so we might be seeing her. Yep. Trying very hard to convince her that it's a good idea.
She's a diehard Derby girl.
Nice.
Well, actually, speaking of friends from Kansas,
She's from Iowa.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We've got
Iowa.
more. We do have a ton of friends in Kansas.
Iowa. I lost my train of thought, but after I got back from Winter Slam, I was talking with Daniel Ort, and he said something about seeing us at another Derby or something. I said, "You guys got to come out to Bash for Cash." Man, I'd love to. He says. said, let me see what I can do for you. So I sent Carly a message. I said, hey,
what I can
you guys should really come to Bash for Cash. You know, I'd like to come there too. So hopefully we'll see some more friends from Iowa coming out this way to watch a good derby in May and Bash for Cash.
It looks like Candace. I think Candace is going to be with Canadian Chad and Brandon and Sam Tyson at Crossroads May 2nd. So they're heading out that direction.
Cool.
Nice.
Very cool.
Pack the bags because
that's going to be a good show.
Yeah.
we're going on a trip.
I'll touch on a caddy segment. I mean, we could have a 5-hour show and still not cover everybody. I mean, there's so many great builders out there and a lot of guys that specifically run just caddies.
Yeah.
That
Well, let's qualify how this show came together. It's like we've been talking with Troy a lot since November about trying to do this. And then we had the window of opportunity came about, and Troy was available. So we said, let's go forth and make this thing happen. And Ben's going to be here, so he can tell us how to fit an Oldsmobile body on a cat.
No.
I've heard rumors of that happening.
No, I'm not. Not at all. You will not get any tips out of that. There's so many great builders and there's so many people that love caddies. I mean, like I said, you could have 5 different episodes and still not cover the big builders out there. I mean,
absolutely.
There's tons of guys out west. I mean, Ohio guys. I mean, you got the Mike Decker, you got Booger out west, and you know, that's just a couple off the top of my head. But I mean, any good GM builder, you know, they could dabble in caddies any day of the week, but it's.
I mean,
these are just a couple people that like Troy, like you said, Troy's been there from day one, so we wanted to hit him up, and
absolutely.
And Chris Lancaster just happened to be. You guys seen him firsthand out there, and
he's run 2 caddies that we've seen. He had a caddy at the team show. He and Neil Jerry both had Cadillacs out there, and you know, you mentioned Mike Decker, Booger, from out in Iowa with Team JYD. He can drive build some pretty nasty Cadillacs. Dustin Anderson, he's been known to do pretty well up in Minnesota with him.
But I've seen so many. I mean, I've seen so many good caddies out there, and so many. I mean, there's definitely certain tricks to do on them, and they're nasty ass cars when you get them figured out. And I mean, it's the market on them. I mean, it's kind of like the Imperial market years ago. You know, the market went skyrocketed. Now all of a sudden, you know, everybody wants caddies again. You know,
absolutely.
Josh should tell you years ago. We talked on another program. He goes, you don't know how many caddies he used to just run, didn't know nothing about, just used to run and just junk. The ass ends would just be junk.
Yep.
Drive him in the dirt, and you know, if he'd had them cars all over again, it'd be like, you know, you got a gold mine.
Yep, for sure.
Troy Dag, what are you working on out there in California?
Actually, I'm putting a new 2-post lift in my garage, but got a 73 Caddy sitting in the garage from last year. Needs a little bit of work. I think it's got one more run left in it that we'll probably work on a little bit here shortly.
Nice. So, you know, we've talked a lot about how you sort of become a go-to guy. You know, Brian has fired a lot of questions your way when he was building his Cadillac last year. And for the gentleman at the gas station, there's your local reference. Brian had a Cadillac at Waterloo. Can't get any more local than that. And then, you know, he ended up driving a Cadillac at Yates County last year. And we've seen Chris Lancaster with his iterations of the Cadillac. What makes those cars so special? Why do they have such a soft spot with you?
I don't know. You know, I think they're a little bit tougher in the front than a regular GM, except for the Rivieras. You know, they just have they got a stouter front end on them. You know, you look behind the spring pockets back, and it's a bigger, straighter frame than the regular GMs of those years. And the frame horns are kind of straight. You know, once you get them figured out to where they don't they bend up there past the bumper brackets, they're reasonably harder than a regular GM. So, you know, over here in California, they don't always let us use distributor protectors for tranny braces. So it comes back down to, you know, what frame is stronger.
And in terms of what you just said there in California, how available are Cadillacs out there?
They're probably more available out here, I think, than most places, it seems like. You know, I could still pick them up out here for $500 to $800. You know, a running, driving Cadillac that has been on the street within the last couple of years is close to $800.
Yeah, see, everybody's got caddies out in Cali.
Yeah.
You got to roll
That's
a
the
Cali
Cali
style
car.
in a caddy. Years ago, that was a big ticket.
I hear scrap price is doing real well out there, Troy.
Yeah. I think scrap prices are down everywhere. I think I just got $100 a ton today or something like that, or $90 a ton. It wasn't real lucrative, but it is what it is. It goes up and down like anything. It'll come back up sooner or later.
What's the most commonly overlooked thing that you can do at a Cadillac that's going to give you an advantage? Is there one thing that it just seems like the general population is overlooking that will completely change the dynamic of the car?
Yeah, the rear end. Most people think that the trunks are soft, but after going to Mayhem in 09 and I think 012 or something like that, or 010, a couple of times I learned from the deuce and a quarters back there how hard trunks can be. I mean, Cadillac isn't as hard as those trunks, but you get them to fold up right, and you get them nice and tight, they could be pretty good trunks.
Ben's shaking his head over there.
Oh, I agree with him. I
Absolutely.
mean, it's a misconception. I mean, the trunk pans are actually 5 times tougher than a standard GM. I mean, you just got to look at the trunk pans. I mean, that's what a lot of people don't. You got to focus. You got to focus on building the trunk right. Otherwise, it'll be a potato digger.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what everybody did around here for years. They didn't.
Yeah.
They just basically welded the trunk shut and said, "Hold on until it starts digging dirt."
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've done that for years, man. Same exact thing. We used to do what we call the California roll, where we just weld the whole trunk all the way around, no tuck, and we would just crease the heck out of it in the middle.
Yep.
We'd get it to fold up.
Yep.
But there, you take one good shot, and the caddy hump will just fold if you don't get it to fold up right from the beginning.
Right.
But last year, I was lucky enough, after getting to know Troy, I pestered him about a bunch of stuff, and he answered every question I had. And I was laying underneath my car, took a picture, and sent it to him. I said, "Troy, where to do it?" And he goes, "Right here." And I notched it out, and the one side of the car that I hit square with, that folded up perfect. The other side I had some trouble with, but then Ben came over and helped me, and we got it back in shape. And just like Troy said, it folded up nice. And I mean, if I got the trunk lid down, I could use the back of that. It would be solid and tough, and definitely, it's something. It's great to have somebody you can ask, and somebody like Troy that's got the knowledge, and they're a good car on both ends. I mean, I was very impressed.
And I agree with you. I mean, Troy's the first one. Years and years and years. Troy, after the first year you guys came out to Mayhem, you brought the Galaxies out, brought the Fords out. Remember that?
Yeah.
I
think I bought a 57 Mercury in 08 or 09.
Yeah, I messaged you after that show asking you questions about front ends of Galaxies. A few questions I had saying, hey, am I thinking way out left field or not? And you told me a few things, and I figured a few things out, and I built a few of them, and they're pretty nasty. I mean, it's just nice. I mean, it's nice to have somebody you can, and we've said this before, talking to guys and be able to talk to guys and ask questions and be real open-minded and answering questions.
Yeah, that's a good thing about the information technology age that we're in now, right? When I was coming up, you learned by hard knocks, man. When you learned how to notch your frames correctly by losing it 2 or 3 or 4 times. I don't know how many Galaxies I lost in a heat race.
Yeah.
Right, just lost. Today it's a little bit easier because guys can communicate and get online. I know guys that build cars strictly offline, man. Have never built a car before, and they go online and they do a fairly good job.
Yep, absolutely.
And I don't mind sharing most of what I know. I don't share everything, but it's okay with sharing you guys back east because there's no threat really. You know what I mean? I'm not going to race against anything that I'm telling you guys back there.
Well, the way I ask questions is just I have a thought in my head, and I just like bouncing it across people to say, hey, look, I'm not asking you to tell me how to do it. I'm just asking you to say, hey, am I way out in left field, or possibly is this going to work or not? And I'm with you. I mean, I don't know how much shit that I've jumped over the years, just like, we'll try it this way. Go out there, and it's like, that didn't work. Yep. Or we'll try it this way. Holy shit, I should have done that years ago. It would have been good, And you're right. I mean, guys can go online and just in 3 or 4 hours, learn stuff that takes 10 or 12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice thing with when Troy we were at Bash for Cash, and that was the first time I'd actually met Troy, face to face. We talked to him on the show and stuff, but I said, Troy, what can I do to make a caddy tougher in the front? He goes, well, come here, I'll teach you something. So we went over to a Cadillac, and he goes, put your hand up here, feel this. And I said, yep. And he goes, now it's a smaller part of the frame. What do you think is going to happen? I said, that's where it's going to bend. And he goes, you learned something. Now, he didn't tell me how to fix it. He just said, this is where they'll bend. This is an area you need to work on. So I went home, and I had, taken the nose off the front of my car and sat there in a chair and thought about it for a little while. And then I got a hold of Troy again, and I said, hey, this is the idea I have. What do you think? And he goes, you're definitely on the right track, and, keep going and, try some other things. And I mean, he's a good teacher in that he didn't tell me how to do it. He wanted me to learn it on my own, and it worked great. And I called him or sent him a message afterwards and thanked him, and it's cool. He didn't tell me the secret. He didn't tell me his secret. He didn't say that's how I do it. He said, this is learn here and then go from there. So it's definitely he's definitely not above helping guys. It's really cool.
Fix it plates.
Fix it plates.
Means that you don't have to fix it later. That kind of plate.
Exactly.
It already came back from the frame.
So what Cadillac is yours of choice, Troy?
I think I've had my best luck with 73 two doors.
Yeah.
I like the two door because it's got a little different roof in the back, a little bit more strength, and the frame's a little bit different in the rear on a 73. It's like a 1 year only for the frame. It's not a big deal, but every little thing matters when it comes right down to it. You want to try to cover all your bases, you want to try to eliminate anything that goes wrong, and even the smallest of items helps sometimes. So 73 and 74 are pretty much the same, except for the rear frame. The 73 is just a little bit better, I think.
What went through your mind when Chris Lancaster got a hold of you and said, "I'm thinking about tilting one of these"?
To be honest, I've never tilted one, man. I think it's a good idea. I do know that when I think I know, I really don't know, right? So I'm always constantly learning. Once I think I have something figured out, I sooner or later figured out that I really don't have it figured out. Somebody else is trying something different. There's always different paths and learning ways to learn, and that's why I like going and watching races and going out of state and traveling across the country, because I learn so much when I go to different races in different places.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And nothing surprises me anymore.
No.
Yeah.
In terms of, I know there's a number of people that we've talked to, a number of builders that we've talked to that said that they've reached out to you. Is it overwhelming at any point, or is it hard to? The scenario that Brian painted was you brought him to the source and basically gave him the opportunity to learn for himself. You didn't tell him how to do it. Is it frustrating at all when you have a number of people coming to you asking you how-tos, or do they ever get frustrated that you won't just flat out tell them how to do it?
No, I don't never get frustrated, man. I don't mind helping people.
That's true. Troy never gets upset.
Because I'll do the same. If it comes time for me to build a new style, I've only built one. But there's a bunch of people out there willing to help me. So, I readily help people. I don't never get overwhelmed. It's not like I'm getting texts or phone calls every day. Once in a blue moon, somebody will say, "Hey, man, what about this?" And I'll help them out. Because I need help myself all the time, man. So I'm not scared to ask anybody else either. If something don't look right or I'm trying to figure something out. There's people out there that know. I just have to find out the information. I got to find out who knows. And usually I'll ask 2 or 3 people and get an opinion, and then I'll weigh everything out and make my own decision on what's going on, because everybody has different ways of doing everything.
Mm-hmm. So Ben's been around a couple of Cadillacs.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think of them?
Oh, I personally, if I was a GM guy, I like Cadillacs. I've been around Cadillacs. I've been around Rivies, and it's each car has their place. Every car that I've been involved with, Cadillac, Rivy, or whatever, it's either won a show or been in the top 3. So, but like Troy says, you're constantly evolving, you're constantly learning. In the last couple of years, actually the last year and a half, I'd say a couple years. The stuff how it's evolved and the way stuff's being used, it just blows your mind, in different in heavier build shows. If I could apply that to something that I was going to build or run around here, it'd be every place has its application. But Cadillacs myself, I mean, I would agree with Troy myself. I mean, I wouldn't, 73, 74s would be the era, that I'd play around with. I would, it's just one of them things, it comes down to money. If I didn't have to worry about money and I could build whatever I want, I'd have a tractor trailer on their way from out west right now coming back here,
Absolutely.
with a wide range of cars. It wouldn't just be, it'd be the cars that I'd want to play with and incorporate some of those things that I've learned and seen and just see how the ball rolls. But
what was the thing that surprised you the most about the Cadillac once you had the chance to run one? Because you didn't really put Cadillacs on your radar until the last couple of years.
I was everybody kept telling me how tough the noses of them were, and I've never really been all that impressed with GM noses, because unless they're, unless you can weld seams and do this and do that, I've seen a lot of GM noses stand up, fresh, round back wagons, fresh Impalas, fresh Caprices. And I drove fairly hard with the front of my Cadillac, and it's just starting to come up some. I mean, I could get another heat out of it, but I want to get the parts out of it. Actually, I sent Troy a picture, and he said it was good for another race. But I got to get the parts out of it to build my King's Old School car. I'm definitely impressed with the noses. And there's some things that I've asked Troy about, and he said, "Oh yeah, if you could do that, that would definitely help." And I got to see if we could work that into the rules for King's Old School. But I definitely like the noses on them. They're very impressive.
Don't get rid of that used Cadillac, Brian. You'll be sorry. Pull that nose back down, because in a couple years you'll say, "Man, I should have never got rid of that Cadillac."
But the only thing is, I got to cut the motor out of it and tranny. I got to take the rear end out of it. Well, with the price of scrap though right now, Troy, like you said,
it's probably not hard to hang on.
Yeah,
to
it's probably going to be sitting in the garage or in the barn for a while. So I may put it back together and run it again.
The benefit that I've had over the years is I literally had 72 Kingswood wagon frame, 74 GS Riviera frame, 74 Cadillac frame, and what was the other frame I had sitting there? I actually had all them frames sitting on the shop floor and looked at and could compare every one of them.
Yeah.
And not that at that point, like Troy says, as soon as you look at you look at the frame,
you can
Cadillac
tell
front frame, it's like, duh. What's that's like a no-brainer there. But and that's why I was surprised. But over the years, Brian will agree with me. Over the years, Rob and Harry, always ran Cadillacs for years, and we're like, man, them sons of bitches were tough in the front. But we're like, we're never gonna buy them because the Assens are junk. They go in the dirt. Me personally, I drove one GM a long time ago. It was a Pontiac, 74 Pontiac. It was Brett's, and I drove that at one show, and Richie hit me. I backed up, and he was laughing. He's still laughing to this day because he had a Grand Fury wagon that had work done on the front frame section.
Oh yeah.
And we're a racetrack derby, and I backed up, hit him. I'm like, boy, I'm gonna send that corner right up in the air. Yeah. He drove that frame right underneath the rear tires of that Pontiac, and I'm like, he's back there laughing.
Yep.
I swore from that day, I said, I'll never run another coil spring car again.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed right away from him. I stayed away from him. And then I just, in the last 6-7 years, I started learning a lot of stuff and going to a lot of different shows. And actually, it's been longer than that. 10 years
10,
now.
12,
10, 12 years. But but I was ignorant to that philosophy and but yeah, like I said, and I've been fortunate for a lot of things, especially having all them frames to just sit there and compare.
Yep. Troy, when are you going to pull a fresh Caddy in and start building that?
Well, Hot Rockin' 4th of July is a team show this year, and I got a 73 two-door, nice clean one sitting in my storage yard that I was hoping to go over this weekend and do it, but, everything always takes longer than what you think.
Absolutely.
Well, I didn't get a chance to go start stripping it, but probably the next week or two, I'll have a fresh two-door in here.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when the fun begins. I don't enjoy stripping them before or after.
Yeah.
I used to, but I don't anymore. I just I'd rather pay somebody $100 to strip the car out.
Oh
There
yeah.
you go.
Yep. Troy, how many years have you been running total?
I think my first Derby was like in the early '80s, maybe 81, 82, 83, sometime around there. 120 cars in Santa Rosa.
Wow.
There was one Imperial, and he mopped everybody. 120 cars.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's
Man.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. We don't see races like that very much anymore out here in California. The 120 car derbies are Midwest and back east.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say your average would be out there?
Really, probably 15.
Really?
Yeah, 15 to 25, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
15 to 20. Usually 20 is a good derby out here, 20 cars. And
No.
that's typically probably $2,000 to $3,000 to win.
Yeah.
$5,000-$6,000 purse.
Are they
Yeah.
all one and dones, or you got to run heats and everything else?
No, you got to run heats. They usually have 2 to 3 heats, and they don't run consies if it's 15 cars. Sometimes they'll tell you in the drivers' meeting, yeah, we're gonna have a consi. Then when it comes main event time, they're like, yeah, no consi. Everybody's boo.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a place, one show there last year that said they were going to do that, never did.
Yeah. But $3,000 to win ain't bad.
No, that's a good
That's a
per
good
payoff.
It's not bad
Yeah,
at all.
especially if you can get 1 or 2 races out of your car. Put more than one race.
Absolutely. So Troy, last year when we were standing at Bash for Cash, you seemed pretty interested on that show. Is there any chance we could see a hauler from California pulling into Ohio someday and watching you run this far out east, or what?
Man, I'd love to come out there and get my butt kicked.
Oh, stop.
It's so far to tow, though. I don't know how many miles it is to Ohio from here, but man, I think it's further than Illinois.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
you're about six hours farther west.
Yeah.
Or east, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a little
that's
ways.
a long tow, man. I would make a deal with somebody to build me a car. If there's anybody out there listening that wants to race out this way or Utah or something and build me a car for out there, I'd love to jump in the driver's seat and go out there and play around. I mean, it's just too hard to tow a car all that far back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. When you guys came to Mayhem the one year though, you got a bunch of guys from California, and you brought a semi trailer, didn't you?
Car carrier.
Car carrier.
We did. I think we had like 11 or 12 cars that we got organized to come that year.
That was 2010, and you put on a show. Let me tell you,
Pretty cool.
I became a Troy Tag fan that day because you were junking stuff.
Yeah. That was a good day
Mm-hmm.
for all of us, all the California guys. And we actually laid down a bunch of our rivalries to do that. It's like any place; everybody has their rivalries. Wherever you're at, and we all got together and had what we called a mayhem meeting and laid down all of our BS that we had and got organized and made it back there. It was quite the effort to get that many cars back that far.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Very cool.
Is there
Yeah,
is there
we didn't
anything
win nothing, but we had a good time.
Yeah.
you didn't even get longest tow award? Did they give one there?
They don't have that there.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Didn't you get a heavy hitter award in either the heat or the Consi though, or didn't you get a heavy hitter award that year? Or Mad Dog?
I can't remember. I know my son did well one of those years. He got one year we brought 2 caddies, and my son Matty, he did well. I think he got heavy hitter.
Yeah, he got instigator.
Yeah.
I won my heat. I know that.
Nice.
I came out of my heat looking good, and all the other cars were all tore up. I thought, oh man. I might win this thing for a second. Hey, I'm looking pretty good, but it's not long lived. And with that style of build back there, and the competition is just through the roof.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
tough.
the draft process is pretty intense.
Yeah,
you know that.
There's a lot of teamwork going on there.
You're the odd man out for sure out in Illinois when you guys came out. That's for sure.
Yeah, that thought was only for a second.
Yeah, gave you hope.
Well, we appreciate you coming on the show tonight. Before we let you go, is there any advice we might be able to pass on to the folks that are listening at home, might be interested in attacking one of these Cadillacs that you might be able to share with them? I know we touched on the rear end. We talked about the advantages with the thickness of the frame behind the spring pockets and focusing on the narrow part of the frame. Is there anything else you might be able to pass on without giving away any of your close to the vest secrets?
Not really. Just that the rear ends are tougher than most people think.
Yep.
You can get them to fold upright, get them hold into a box. They're pretty good. I've had good success with them.
Excellent.
Yes, you have.
Well, that's absolutely true. Keep in touch as you work through that 73, as you're getting ready for a hot rockin' fourth. Love to hear from you, and hopefully if things go right, we'll be catching up with you here at the NMA back in Ohio.
You bet.
Are you going? Are you
coming?
Yeah,
are you at least coming to watch?
I was hoping to get a little bit more of a tip of the hand here. You said you bet. I'm like, oh, are you coming out to? Are you coming out this year?
Going to bat for cash?
Yeah.
Am I going to bat for cash?
Yeah. Not with a car, obviously. Just
yeah,
come
I'll
watch.
probably show up and go watch like we did last year. I'm already checking on plane tickets now.
Excellent.
But I'll probably be there. Hang out with the Siopas.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's the place to be.
That's the place to be.
That's where we're going to be.
They put on a good spread, man. I'll tell you, those guys are a class act.
Yes, they are.
Well, we'll if we don't see you before, we'll plan on seeing you in May.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thanks
a lot, Troy.
See you later. There goes Troy Tag. Give us a little bit of information. It went kind of the way I thought it was gonna. It was a great idea on paper, and at the end of the day, everybody's at home scratching their heads wondering why we call it Caddy Talk. Because Ben's over there looking pissed as hell because he didn't get to share any of his tricks. And Brian isn't allowed to share any of his, according to the contract that he's got with Troy.
Absolutely.
And I'm pretty sure that when we talk to Chris, he's not going to say anything either.
The word of advice you got to give people is I did it years ago. Frank bought 3 Rivies, actually 4 Rivies. If you're going to try to figure a car out, you're not going to do it in one car. So you might as well, try to get a deal on 2 or 3 of them.
Yep.
And it's trial and error. Learn by your mistakes. And anybody that can build a GM, an Impala, Caprice, anything like that, pretty much the same concept pretty much applies to Cadillacs in my eyes. There's a difference, of course, but back end wise, it's
close.
It's close, but like Brian says, you sit on your stool or get underneath on the creeper and just stare at the ass ends of them and underneath and you'll figure it out.
Yeah, that was the cool thing. Like I said, Troy gave me some ideas and think about doing this and maybe that, and
it was cool that he didn't tell you how to do it. He said,
exactly.
Look at this and see what you can come up with.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that's
And then Brian came home and said, Ben, this is what he told me.
Well, he asked me too. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. That's the thing. As much experience as Ben has had, he's built cars for Mayhem, he's built cars for Cuba, he's built cars for Hartford. Bash for cash. Why wouldn't I ask? It's silly not to ask somebody with that much knowledge. So, and when he says, yeah, it's a pretty good idea, you're going the right way. So
it's hard though because there's, if you're building a car for Bash for Cash, you'd build the ASN totally different than you would for building a car for King's Old School.
Yep.
It's just the way different rules apply and what you could do the rear quarters and what you could do with folding and tucking and everything else it's such a wide range. And like I said earlier, you could have 6 different shows and have 6 different type of builds, and 6 different builders on there, and it all, whatever conforms your wheelhouse set of rules, what you can do,
yep.
and how to build them. And but it's.
Well, on the topic of Bash for Cash, we'll tell you about them, and then we'll get Chris Lancaster on the line. We'll be right back. And you thought last year was huge. The Bash for Cash returns to the Demolition Derby Limelight Memorial Day weekend 2015. Every bit of action is returning, and there's some more added in. DerbyParts.com is back with the 80s newer class, paying $11,000 to win. DerbyTees.com is back, paying the turn back the clock winner $10,000. And now the Compacts are cashing in, vying for at least $3,000 in their championship event. Action is planned for May 23rd and 24th, again at the Fayette County Fairgrounds in Washington Courthouse, Ohio. Early inspections are planned for Friday, May 22nd. For a full rundown of the schedule and divisions, visit www.smashitderby.com. Bo Lockwood Motorsports is primed for a huge 2015 season. Having expanded to include 4 massive shows, Bo Lockwood and his team look to change the face of Demolition Derby in western Pennsylvania. Their schedule opens May 9th at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds in Brookville, Pennsylvania. It will include one of the richest stock shows around, paying $5,000 to win and $400 to start. The card includes full payback lawnmowers and separate $500 to win truck and compact one-and-done events. Attention then turns to the all-new Keystone Nationals, now being hosted as a standalone event June 27th at the Westmoreland County Fairgrounds in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. The limited well division winner will pocket $10,000, and every feature starter is guaranteed $400. A $1,000 to win stock event will be joined by a $1,000 to win compact feature and full payback lawnmowers and the debut of the Power Wheel. The focus then goes back to Brookville, July 18th for the $3,000 to win Jefferson County Championships in Brookville, Pennsylvania, and the season concludes July 25th with a return to the Clarion County Fairgrounds in Clarion, Pennsylvania. All green flags drop at 6 p.m. and Bo Lockwood has more announcements to come, so stay tuned to Bo Lockwood and Bo Lockwood Motorsports on Facebook. And we're back. We got Chris Lancaster joining us here on the line. Chris, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Good. Well, we talked a little bit with Troy Tagg a little bit ago, and now we've got Chris Lancaster on the line. You drove that the tilted Cadillac at Winter Slam, and had you not had a right front tire lock up as soon as you pull onto the track, I think Fates would have smiled on you even more. So you got right down near the top 5. Tell us a little bit about what it was like to build that car, and then let's go back in time a little bit and talk about the Wadena car too.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool that you had Troy on here because Troy's been giving me a lot of good advice, and he gave me a ton of advice on the ass end, and then the Chivers. I grew up with these guys, and when I got out there building it, they gave me a lot of good advice, and I've been playing with spindles and playing with the tilting angle for 2 reasons. I like the ass ends low on a Caddy, and most people tell me that's not the way to go, but I figured I'm getting it right. I mean, the ass end folded nice at Winter Slam. And then the thing on the tilting on the Caddies I like a lot about them is that if you do it right, you can get the bumper perfectly level with the frame. A lot of guys run them up high, and I don't like the leverage that creates.
What are you laughing at?
Oh, it is 100%.
And then when you get to run a skid plate on it, which ties there was the mid plate back to the transmission protector in the Wadena car.
The Wadena car allowed you to run a skid plate, which I don't even think that's a skid plate. Basically, a bar from your cross member to your engine cradle, and then welded in with gussets.
Yep.
And that helps.
Yeah, that comes in handy. Then they start bending at the back seat.
Yeah, I mean,
they start flexing in the middle.
You said that the front of the front rail on the Garden City car, the bottom seam had come apart, but other than that, everything stayed pretty well intact.
No, that was Yoni's. Yoni's
Yoni's
came apart.
Yeah.
Mine just had a teeny wrinkle in the frame rail right behind the A-arm, but other than that, it was pristine. I mean, the inside rail was perfectly straight. Then again, I ran a Caddy 500, so you know.
Yes, the biggest of the big, and it didn't get hot.
And it ran well.
No replacement for displacement.
That is true.
That's right.
A lot of torque in that motor.
We learned a lot about that this weekend at Golden Isle with the $58,000 motor. If you got the money, spend it, right?
Absolutely.
It's a modified reference. I don't know if that's true either.
His brother said it was.
It was on the internet. It's got to be true.
Got to be true.
Right?
Yeah.
But so what surprised you about the Cadillac? I mean, now you've got a couple of them under your belt with pretty good runs. What surprised you about that car versus some of the other entries that you've driven?
Well, I think the biggest, for me, I'm a big guy, so I like the fact that you get a lot of space and a lot of weight, and you can move people out of the way. But I think the thing that Troy didn't mention that's so badass about a Caddy
is they've got that double-layered tranny tunnel. And if you've got a transmission protector, you're able to basically lock it in there. So if you've got those rules, they're not bending up front.
What are you shaking your head for?
No, just something. Yeah. Go ahead.
Does an Oldsmobile body have that double layer tranny tunnel too, or no?
I don't know for sure.
You're just trying to get that shit for that Olds body, aren't you? It's not going to happen because not many people have done that. And
But it is a chronicled fact that there was a car at Cuba that
there's a car at Cuba that I helped build and and it had a '74 Cadillac frame and an Olds body on it.
And they made it together well, and Tommy Dowd hit it, and it ended his night, and that worked out pretty well for Frank, right?
Well, yeah, yes and no. I mean, he took. I mean, that shot was a devastating shot, but he ended up shutting his car off at third place because he was exhausted. But he drove the balls off that car.
Frank
that
Palmer, by the way. We were talking about this before the show.
A lot of people were, it was kind of a. I laughed because everybody's like, "Oh, that's Olds, that's junk." Well, they got surprised.
Yeah,
basically, I mean, and if I was to do it all over again, I'd do it all over again. I would build another 74 and possibly maybe a 73, 74 with an Olds body, a two-door Olds body on it. And it's, I think it's cat's ass, but some people might disagree with me. But the reasoning I have behind it is same thing with the reasoning Troy has with the older Cadillac frames. Same thing with the trunks of an Olds compared to a Cadillac.
Yeah. So in terms of the Cadillac that you had out there, Chris, what was that you had at Winter Slam exactly?
That was a 75.
That was a 5. And then you had a 72 or 73 in Wadena, right?
I had 73 at Wadena. It was interesting because Troy likes the 3s in the back, but I actually think the 5s roll up easier and a little bit tighter in the back.
Brian, the wheels are turning over there.
Well, I was just thinking. I ran a 75 last year, and like I said, Troy told me where to notch it. And the one side I hit crooked on the first hit, and when I hit square, the one side bent perfect and stayed there. And then we fixed the other side, and eventually it bent and stopped. And the humps are still good, and it's like I said, I could run it again. I've never ran a 73. I don't know what they do in the back. I've heard that 73s and 74s are tougher from the front bumper to the middle of the car.
Well,
so
Brett's was a 72 or 3.
Yeah.
And that thing was nasty as hell, but that had outside influences in it and the way it was built. Like
absolutely.
We were talking before, the way the rear quarters were built. So, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a pretty good guy build the back end of that car.
If you can't alter the height of the rear quarters, then what are you gonna do? But that didn't apply. I mean, he did a whole bunch of good stuff to it back there, and it held up pretty nasty.
Yeah, that was a very tough car.
I know we're jumping around a little bit here, but going back to the Wadena car, the thing that was even more interesting about the back end, we've talked a lot about the back end, but we didn't talk about Chris's wheels themselves. You had those things dished backwards? Is it?
I've been running the 23 skidders on 14-inch Mazda rims from Mev's Mod Shop.
Yeah.
Fucking excuse my language, builds great products. But anyway.
Mavis.
And you flip them upside down, and I did it one time. You turn it backwards. I did it on accident once. Since I've done it, I haven't gotten one flap. I haven't gotten a frame touch it, and normally the body doesn't even touch. You just flip it over, it works great.
Yeah, because you're gaining, 2 or 3 inches of clearance from the frame rail when you do that?
Yep.
Correct. And the other thing you get is if you run 23s, it's hard for them to hit you anyway.
Right.
But if they do, it actually makes it a little bit, gives you some give, and that give takes away any pressure you may have on an axle. And I know even with 40-spline Mosers, they're hard to break, but if you can take that away, something else that's not going to give on your car.
Exactly.
Mavis wants to know if that makes the back end roll up nicer.
It does.
Yeah. It's all because of Mavis's wheels.
There's an endorsement for use Mavis, however you might know him.
NLR.
Yes.
Yes.
NLR.
And the only way that he can be on the show is if he does it by Skype. I know we've been over this before, but that's the only way.
Yeah, you got to have the facial expressions and to experience them.
He must have patted my wife's forehead about 15 times when we were in Garden City.
Good
He's
dude.
had a couple drinks before he's on the show, too.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
As long as he's not carrying around his 2-liter bottle with him.
Yeah, or a trophy that he acquired.
He's listening right now. He was messaging me a little bit here, talking about it. So
Good dude.
I mean, how many more Cadillacs do you have in the stable at this point?
6, I think.
What?
Nice.
Yeah, I have a lot of 4s and 5s, and then I got 1 3 that's from Wyoming. I don't even want to say what I paid for that one, but I got a 73 that's just pristine.
Yeah.
Where are you saving that for?
So I'm trying to get together a Blizzard Bash ride, and the Minnesota-style team's kind of struggling a little bit. Neil Jerry's in wholeheartedly. Mitch is kind of iffy. His wife is 100% in, so maybe this will kind of give him some pressure. And then I'm trying to get either Ryan Chivers or Eric Mule to come out from California.
That's cool.
It's not a bad group.
Yeah, he's definitely in if the wife's 100%.
Always good to have the wife in.
There's a little outside pressure
That does
going
help.
there.
That does help.
Yes.
And Neil had a Cadillac last year.
He was amazing at Winter Slam. I mean, he finished 4th or 5th. He was hammering.
Yeah, he did a great job. And then Mitch ended up coming away with one of the heavy hitter awards.
Yeah, so he'd be great for Blizzard Bash.
Absolutely.
No pressure.
At least for a minute.
Yeah, or a minute 45 or 2:10 or
49.
you know.
You know, he would do all right. So, you said you got a couple of them left. You prefer the 5s. We talked a little bit about what surprised you about the cars and things along those lines. What ultimately sparked the whole idea of tilting it? Was it the same situation of you're just sitting in the garage looking at it saying, hey, you know what? You know, it might actually work as if we try this. Or was it something that you went in with a plan of trying to do that, given how prevalent the tilted build has been?
So I like to do things different, kind of like that Caddy 500. And I thought, well, you know, let's give it a try. But I think the biggest reason why I did it is I set the ass end really low. And, again, got a lot of feedback, but I think I got it right now. And when you put the rear end so low, I didn't like the angle on the front end. So
Like
in order to address it, then I tilted it and played with some different spindles. And once you got it right, you get a really good ride height, and you get that bumper straight on the frame instead of on the top, which is where everyone else runs it. And that takes away that leverage of pushing it up, which that was my thought.
Now you so that's some good information. I hope everybody at home's taking good notes.
Well, what they're doing is I said this a couple years ago, and primarily Toby Hiley was one of the very first. Well, I shouldn't say one of the very first, but the first one I seen. We're applying 80s builds and building techniques to old iron now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's making these 80s cars tougher than snot. And why not apply it to an old school car where A, the bodies are 10 times tougher and thicker, and B, the frames are way tougher, and thicker, way thicker than the newer style 4s. And other than 03 and up, so everything's hydroformed and everything else, but it's kind of like it's one of them things like we talked about before. When you think about it, it's like, nah, it's one of the things you think about and just overlook it because it makes so much sense, And then you have people that start apply it, and then next thing you know, it's like, well, he just ran over him. First thing that comes to your mind is cheated. It's just it's engineered. It's just the way it's designed, and all the quote unquote protectors and everything else are working the way they're supposed to and designed to work.
Well,
Jamie Frost is listening at home, and he asked if we'd ever seen or heard about the Caddy stubbed round back wagon. We've seen plenty of pictures of those, and then Chris in Wadena had the chance to run against some of these cars, but there's some pretty gnarly Cadillacs. Booger to isolate one out of the Northwest Iowa group with JYD, he can he can certainly build a good car. And unless we forget Chris Firster in Pennsylvania.
We ran against Cadillac stubbed roundbacks and everything else. It turned back the clock. I mean, in Ohio, I mean, they're years and years ago. I mean, Doodle and all them guys out there, they're all stubbing them with Cadillac frames, and it's just because, like Troy says, you put them frames side by side. It's just like putting a Y framer and a shocker frame side by side. You know, there's the difference is. Once you see it, it's clicks in your head. Yeah, okay, now I understand. You know, it's just the design.
Yep, and that's the thing is really, what everybody's doing is using physics without all the complicated formulas. I mean, when you get right down to it, I mean, it's
mechanical engineering.
Yeah, mechanical engineering. I mean, you're straightening out steel, and you're using the it's
geometry.
Yeah, whatever.
Geometry, Miss Molesky, geometry.
But I mean, really, when you get right down to it, that's what you're doing is you're changing the geometry of the car. You're using physics.
Do you think any of these guys that we talked to tonight consider themselves engineers?
They should.
They should.
No, listen, Chris is like, no.
I understand that, Chris, but they should, because in one form or another, I mean, the stuff that we do with these cars make the actual engineers that design these cars, like, scratch your head.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you know what, especially like impact testing and everything else, if the engineers back in the 60s knew that if you tilt an Imperial frame down like an inch and a half to straighten it out a little bit more when the ass ends dip, you can survive instead of an 80 mile an hour impact, 120 mile an hour impact. It's like, it's in one form or another. All these guys and anybody that builds derby cars should consider themselves an engineer, because no matter what you do, it's true engineering. At its best.
Well, and the fun part about it is, like you were mentioning Booger's car.
Mm-hmm.
That when we saw their cars at Wadena, the way he builds it is very different than the way Troy does it.
Mm-hmm.
So they do all these other things different, and you look at them in isolation, you go, that's wrong. But then you see it together, and it's like, wow, that's really masterful.
Yep.
Got to be done all together.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, you can't really say, this guy builds the best Caddy or that guy builds the best Caddy, or because as long as the end result is the same, then you can't question the means of getting there. I mean, if you had 10, drew 10 names out of a hat.
Question the means?
Yes.
From you? Wow.
If you drew 10 names from 10 builders across the country and put them in a ring and let them battle, then okay, you could say that out of that, this guy's the best builder
today.
Yeah, today. So that'd be the only way. But I mean, not everybody does things the same way, and that's that's the great part of derbying. I mean, you get 100 guys, chances are probably 98 of them are going to build things different.
Oh yeah, because it's all they build. Like, I'll build to my driving style. Is that going to be the same as Brett's driving style? Is that going to be the same as Josh Decker's driving style? Is that going to be the same as Sam Bandow's driving style? Everybody builds to their
Jason Bellis, one that we haven't mentioned.
Jason Bellis, let me tell you what.
He builds a nice Caddy.
And he's an engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
And,
but and an outstanding wrestler.
Yes. But what I'm saying is I feel everybody builds to their to their own driving style and what they consider in their mind what they're going to do with their car. And like Chris said, Booger's building his driving style. It might not look great when you look at it, but I like looking at cars, looking at the way they're built beforehand, and then after the Derby, I'll spend just as much time looking at cars after the Derby as I do before the Derby.
Yeah,
because
we're dragging Ben away from shows by his ears trying to get him back to the car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I enjoy because
So did you check out any of the pictures of Chris's car? Jill had pictures up all over the place.
Jill took some awesome pictures, and I couldn't be out there, but I watched I looked at the pictures. I'm like, shit, it's like I'm here. This is awesome. They're like perfect. I'm like, man, these are like super high definition. I'm like trying to scroll in and blow up and everything else, and it's like, but no, I checked. I watched the video, the YouTube videos that some wingnut put up there, and I watched them, and I seen Jill's pictures, and it was kind of like I was there, but without all the smell and noise. But I would have loved the Bender.
You missed the best part.
I would have loved the Bender, but I mean, it's.
I really would
inside out stomach of landing in Syracuse.
Sure. I really would like to see Chris with a right front tire spinning the proper way.
Yes.
I would like to see.
Actually, I have a question.
Now, could you run aftermarket spindles at Winter Slam or no?
No.
No, you had to run a factory spindle.
Next question.
So
No,
with,
you could have bought like Nerit spindles.
Or them ones out of
No, you
from
could run any stock spindle you found. You could not run aftermarket. You could not run Joker spindles. Unfortunately, I was trying some different stuff with them, and I'll leave it at that. And
Right.
with the hit, it just probably the wrong rim choice and probably not the right spindle choice, and it got locked right away.
Right.
So you could have ran them NHRA spindles out of California that we heard so much about in Topeka.
No, hubs.
Oh, hubs, you're
Hubs
right.
and rotors.
That's right. You're right. Hubs
Yeah,
and
but
rotors.
as long as it had a, see, that's where it gets technical. Because as long as if it had a does it have to have a factory number on it or just a factory stamp?
Yeah, the rule says it must be stock OEM.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
wheels are turning now.
Well, no, because Jesse had Jesse had his hands full with that,
Oh yeah.
and I'm sure he would have picked right up on that. But yeah, I hear you. Once you get the spindles figured out, I mean, there's a lot of things I didn't know. I didn't read the rules enough to pick them apart to see if you could run an aftermarket one or not.
Because one of the things I like is I really like to get that caddy up end high in addition to the tilt. So I've spent a lot of time either going to junkyards and other locations
Yep.
trying to find the spindle that gives you the greatest amount of height that'll allow you to meet different rule packages. Jokers are the best. Everyone knows that. But like at Winter Slam, you couldn't run them.
Well, you couldn't. Yeah, I mean, but could you reinforce them?
No.
No. Oh, all right. See, I'd tell you what ones to run, but I guess not. There's no sense. But no, that's I understand. I understand because you're absolutely right. I mean, when you bulldog them down in the back and then you want to pitch it to get that frame straight, I mean, it's definitely falls right into the spindle category, and we've seen that at Blizzard Bash.
Mm-hmm.
You know, guys are breaking hubs and spindles left and right, and just because he took away the aftermarket product, you know, and I agree with you 100%. I mean, if you want to put a spindle on your car, I mean, Joker's definitely got the spindle, but there's a lot of places that don't let you run them, you know.
Yep.
Right. So where next, Chris? What's next?
So Crossroads, and then a bunch of local county fairs, and then I'm trying to put together. Probably Neil and I are talking about maybe running Wadena, and then like I said, if we can get Blizzard Bash together, that'd be good. I'm trying to get the captain Clark Belsky and his son Spencer to run with us too at Crossroads. I'm gonna try a chain car, which I know I will not do well in, but it'll be fun.
So just final thought here on Winter Slam. You were either directly or indirectly new and were running with all the guys that finished ahead of you. Was instead of hitting someone and upsetting them, did you just in turn opt to not hit anybody and let the clock run out?
No. No, Muse decided, I was giving him shit about this, that he decided that his ass end was going to have to be lowered by Colton just so that I could get stuck on it.
Yes.
And because, he and Colton were working so well together in that show, you saw the ass end was low, and I got caught on that, and that's what took me out.
Yeah. That was the end of that. And but it was a great run, and I appreciate. Is your PR rep home yet or no?
Here, I'll pass it over to her.
Okay.
Hello. How's it going?
Hi. Congratulations. You've now been on the show
Saying
more
stuff
times.
about getting a team together for Blizzard Bash and blah blah.
You're busy.
That's awesome.
I'd just like to point out that Jill Lancaster has now been on the crash course more times than Chris. This is her second appearance.
It's true. This is my second time.
Oh, that's right. She was on with
Yeah,
Dina.
she
She
sure
did
was.
a real nice interview after the show.
Well, she does all the PR for them.
Yeah.
She takes care of all that stuff. So, what's your thought on getting a team together for Blizzard Bash here? What's this all about?
Well, so we're realistically trying to get the Minnesota style team back together, but Neil is for sure in, Chris is for sure in, Mitch is probably a no, and Dustin's not going to run. So we're looking for at least one other person, if not two, trying to, peer pressure Mitch into this tonight. So make sure to mention it to him. But we may end up actually getting one of our friends from California, Eric Mule, to run in place of Dustin. So that would be kind of awesome.
That would be cool.
I know a man from Minnesota that's a hell of a builder and a hell of a driver who could definitely use some good teammates because he's gotten it put to him the last couple of years at Blizzard Bash. Any ideas what I'm talking about, Mr. Chris Marquardt?
Oh, I bet Chris knows who it is.
Dustin Anderson.
Nope.
Oh.
Try again?
Sam.
Mr. Sam Bandow. You guys should really consider getting a hold of Sam Bandow because he'll tell you he's going to be there. He'll build an awesome car, and he'd be an awesome teammate. Not the
I did
politics.
talk to him. He has a spot into the regular team show. We're going in through qualifying, but he has somebody who, for sure, he has a second teammate and possibly a third. So
Okay.
we have either too many or not enough.
Okay. I forgot how all the teammates or all the qualifying and stuff went, but I just want to get that name out there. I would definitely, it'd be awesome to see you guys there, though. I mean, like I said, I've been in Minnesota twice now. I'm very impressed. I can't wait to see it when the ground isn't frozen. It's going to be a show. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's not going to be Winter Slam 2 again this year like it was a couple of years ago where we had like 24 inches of snow the day before.
Well, wait a minute. Whoa.
For Crossroads. So hopefully it'll be a good day.
Yeah,
good
because
event.
it's in May. I really don't want it because I think by May we might be having like springtime here in New York.
We talked with Paul and Matt about this. I'm not really okay.
Hey,
with
don't jinx us. We had snow last May and the May before.
Hey, and you also
great.
had 20-degree weather the February before, and it was approaching 40 this year, so everybody's due. Should work out just fine. There's no worries of jinxing, right?
As long as
That is true.
as long as you do a better job of removing snow from your runways, we'll be okay.
That was sketchy. We were doing roughly 700 miles an hour on an ice glare.
Better than going down to Kansas City and there's cows on the runway at the end of the
It did
runway.
happen.
I don't know. It was
Cows on the runway. Pay no attention to the bovine.
I don't know if that plane made any more noise or slid any more than normal, but it sure felt like it when we were landing on snow.
Well, we knew we were in trouble, and the pilot looked back and said, "Hey, it's going to be slippery."
That was a new plane, though. It was only a year old. There was two seats instead of one. Josh and I snuggled all the way home.
From recycled beer cans.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
Yeah, so you'd have thought that it would have been safer.
In theory.
Next year, you'll get the recycled beer cans for Blizzard Bash to build another airplane.
Next issue of Derby Inc. magazine, you're going to be able to see a ton of Jill Lancaster photos in there because she's going to send me a whole bunch of stuff for this issue. Jill was one of the first people to jump on board, sending photography when the magazine came out, and one of the first events that was chronicled from outside of our home area was by Jill, and it was Winter Slam, and I'd like to mention that I can't say thanks enough to everything that Jill has done to really push that magazine. We appreciate it a ton.
Jill and Melissa literally worked side by side at Winter Slam. They were in a corner freezing by the end of the night, but they did a great job, and a lot of pictures, a lot of great video as always. So
like I said, awesome pictures. I mean, I felt like I was there looking at the pictures. I mean, it's super cool. Once you had somebody like Jill out there taking pictures
Well, thank you.
high professional pictures. I mean, I can't say enough about it, but I was able to zoom in and blow them up and everything else. And
You were
I was
studying.
I was in my glory for a while.
Yeah, well, if you take a look on Facebook tonight, there's a couple pictures going around of people's profile pictures of each other hitting each other from Winter Slam. So
Yeah, I
take a look for that. It's kind of funny.
I seen Mavis's and Colton's, and
Yep.
they said go, and they did.
a couple guys commented busting Colton's balls, pretty much saying, "Oh, it looks like he was sleeping." His head was laid right over.
Oh boy,
Colton.
Yep.
Colton drove a good show, man. Both shows he earned everything he got. He drove a very good show.
The 80s class, yeah, I'll agree with you.
He started the contest with Muse, and they were on each other the whole time, and they were
45 minutes.
Yeah, they both put on a good show battling. It's good to fun to watch.
Yeah, they were a good show to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys coming out?
And Colton and Mitch Carlson, all three of them were going after each other. It was a real good show to watch.
Yeah.
Yep.
You guys going to be coming out for the banquet on the 28th?
I hadn't planned on it.
Hadn't planned on it. That's a window of opportunity is what that is.
If you want to go by car, it's only somewhere, 20, 23
24
hours, something like that. It's not bad.
Yeah. I don't know about a drive out there.
I gotta go there for work.
Chris said he has to come out for work. Maybe
I know.
we'll schedule it at the same time.
I'm waiting for a schedule from Chris because we were supposed to meet up.
Cool.
We got to clear that through his PR agent, though. I'll talk to you more about it after the show.
All right, sounds good.
But Well, you guys, thanks a ton for coming on the show and hanging out with us. Is there anybody that you wanted to make mention of before we let you go?
Yeah, just a few. I mean, I'd say John and his No Limit Racing partner are phenomenal, but also I'd say Robleski. He built, when I asked him for a tranny protector for a Caddy 500, he goes, "You're joking, right?" So, and his products are top notch, and M&M boys. And then, in addition to the people I thanked earlier, I'd also say the Hinches, Corey and Milo. I mean, they always come out and give me a hand. So, and thank you guys for doing a great thing and everything you do for Derby.
Well, we appreciate you guys coming on. It was good to talk to you, and of course, it's always great to talk to Jill and Troy. I appreciate you coming on tonight, Chris.
Thanks. Take it easy, man.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good one.
A couple more items that we got to make note of. Once again, Bo Lockwood has his. Well, first of all, let's tell you where we're going to be. Let you know where we're going to. We made mention of the show a couple times. Napa Winter Slam. We were just at Owenton Spring Nationals coming up on the 10th and 11th. There's some more stuff that's going on with that. We got to get John Peck on because he has put together an indoor show in December in
my old stomping grounds,
the Big Sandy Arena. It's going to be pretty cool. Crossroads of Destruction on the 2nd of May. Brookville Spring Stock Show on the 9th, which is the kickoff for the Reckless Warriors Tour. And then Bash for Cash at the end of May on Memorial Day weekend is where we're going to be. A little bit more information on Crossroads for you. That's going to be May 2nd, Albert Lee, Minnesota. 4,000 to win 80s class, 3,000 to win Imperial class. Last year, it was insane. There was 13 Imperials on the track. It was over within about 13 minutes. We're hoping that they can do more cars and do it faster this year. When we're there, more than $26,000 in prize money put together in 1D. Paul Nielsen and Matt Ertman are in charge of that one. And then we mentioned John Peck's show in Owenton, Kentucky, the 10th and 11th. 1,200 to win windshield class on April the 10th. The 11th is modified, 7,000 to win, $12,500 purse. That's John Peck and Top Dog Promotions, 859-393-8693. And the Reckless Warrior Series, the whole season is as follows with additions possibly to come. May 9th Superstock Show, which we talked about. We're going to be there. We'll also be at the Keystone Nationals on the 27th of June in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. July the 18th, Jefferson County Fair. July 25th, Clarion County Fair. That's where you're going to be able to see the trucks and the big 2-day cleanup show on the 4th and the 5th of September. Brian, you're getting itchy. What's up? What do you want to add?
I was just Ben. You know, Ben loves the Big Sandy Arena in West Virginia.
Well, that's good, Ben, because we're probably going to be going to that.
I was just going to say, you know, by the time December gets here, that'll be a year of healing on the back. That'd be a nice show to come back for.
It's already full. A lot of classes are already full.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we got to get in touch with
Chris Marquardt knows people. He can make things happen.
I don't know. Chris Atkins, I think, tried to get in and just can't get in.
That's sort of true. I need to talk with John. He's got more irons in the fire than I was anywhere prepared for him to throw at me last time we talked. He's got a shit ton of irons of fire. He's doing everything and anything there is. He's grabbed the bull by the horns. I thought it was pretty cool that he's decided to tackle some of the topics that he has. They're talking about adding another division to that show. He asked me if to gauge interest out here, so I sent a note to Sean Gokenauer, Jason Koch, the Siopas, and just to say, hey, are you guys interested in doing it? By the time word got to me to tell them to enter, the classes were already full. So we've already got all of our guys that we know out here haven't even had a chance to register yet, and this is essentially in their backyard. So there's going to be more changes coming in some way, shape, or form. So you still got an opportunity.
Yeah, but what you have to look at is that show is limited. That's why years ago that show was limited to X amount of cars because it is in downtown Huntington, West Virginia. The parking, the pits, you have a whole parking garage across the room. I mean, there's lots of rooms for spectators and everything else, but it's pit room. So that's why the classes were always limited years ago because you didn't have enough room pit-wise to have all the cars and trailers in this one area.
Right.
And that's why, I mean, it's super great that he's doing something with that arena again because it's an awesome group of guys that it draws to that show. And the few times we went down there and ran, I had one hell of a time down there and had a blast. And that's when I first met the Atkins, Jason, and Zach, and Chris, and Roy Turner. He ran down there for years. Gaffin ran. Decker ran. I mean, it was just it's just an awesome place to go. But he is definitely. I give him props to bringing us back. It's just unless there's other things that have opened up over the years for room wise. it's always going to be a limited size show but it's definitely going to be.
I don't think he's looking
show.
at any. I think they're looking at 2 or 3. They call them cage matches, which essentially sounds like it's a one and done. 2 or 3 20-card cage matches, which I think that's a fair show. Now the question being
is room. That's where unless, like I said, a lot of things could have changed.
I know I haven't been through Huntington, West Virginia ever.
I'm telling you, it's awesome, man. It's an awesome show. The arena, it's guys have already been on there saying, I hope, kind of not bashing them, but just throwing it out there. Hey, I hope it's bigger than Sturgis. And people have places to sit.
Yeah,
it's definitely bigger than Sturgis. I mean, it's definitely bigger than Sturgis. There's going to be places to sit. It's just that. The way it's set up, it's indoors. There's a motel right across the street. There's other motels in the area. Marshall University's right down the street. I mean, there's just tons of stuff to do around the area for the family when the family comes, and it's just, I think it's great. I really do, and I can't wait. I can't wait to Owington because I want to chew his ear a little bit about it, and
you can call him. He's up until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning all the time.
I messaged him today.
Yeah,
already. But
and
cool.
I mean, Bo's got his logos and stuff out now.
I can't wait to see them logos.
We're gonna be. I'll show them to you once we get off. Just the problem was it wasn't gonna look right when I put it on the screen, so I got to get a little bit different version of it. But those are out there. It's got and I mean it says it all just in that logo. Exactly
awesome.
what it is. It's putting a face on that collection of drivers, that collection of events, and I mean we are so right on top of everything that's coming soon. We're gonna be home for March. We got the banquet on the 28th. We're home for March, and then the middle of April, we're back in Kentucky, and then it's full on straight through the end of the season, starting with May 9th.
Yeah, I'll be ready for a vacation in March or in April.
Well, you were in luck.
Yeah.
We'll be able to get out of here. Undoubtedly, we'll be leaving in the middle of an ice storm. It's pretty much just the way that the trends have been lately.
Gotta make sure we get Josh's wrap done for his doors before we leave.
Absolutely. Gotta get some vinyl for Josh's new work truck.
I saw that truck. Looks pretty good, right?
That'd look good with a decker down the side of it.
That's what I said. You gotta have vinyl and decker wrap to put down each side.
You don't need vinyl to do that. All you need is some masking tape and a rattle can.
Wow. We want it, removable.
Yeah.
You can remove it. Magic eraser will take care of anything.
Yeah.
Anything good over there?
No, we're good.
No?
I was looking at the Reckless Warrior. You got me intrigued, so I looked it up to see what it looked like. Looks pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, right?
Check it out on Facebook, Reckless Warriors.
Jump on there. All sorts of information on BLMotorsports.net. He's going to, I believe Bo is in the process of working on a dedicated website just for that as well. We'll have Bo on here again in the next couple of weeks. I anticipate we'll be talking with Mike Decker live at the banquet.
Well, Bo will probably be on live
on the 28th. Bo's going to be at the banquet too, so we're going to have. I mean, that show is going to be stacked. Once we might end up having to start at 10 o'clock just to fit the 3 hours worth of guests in. But more on that stuff as it gets closer. Make sure you get online. You can buy your tickets right on SmashedEmpireMedia.com. You can find your links right there. We've already got some model car entries turned in for that contest, which you'll be able to read about in the most recent issue of the magazine. And then Bash for Cash, they have a model contest coming up as well. I think that's going to do it for us. We've covered a lot of bases. Hopefully, the folks listening at home were able to pick up a couple tips. I know it wasn't everything, but as Ben laughs at me
we
again.
did talk to some cool caddy guys.
Tune in for the banquet podcast, because then we'll have Mike Decker on there for another spin of
so he can
talk.
so we can have somebody else tell us nothing. I thought it was a good show. I thought
you're not.
Did we even mention Mike Brown shortening the limo?
No, we did not. We forgot about that.
Because that happened.
There's video of that.
Yeah.
There's so many. There's just so many. I mean, you could go on and on and on and on, and it's just.
We could have Mike Brown on for building just about any kind of car, though.
It's not that we don't want to have people on.
Yeah, it's just hard to.
Hard.
It's hard to get them whittled down to just one.
And there's people that aren't going to tell you shit.
We're already over time. We do have to get out of here. Guys, thanks a lot for tuning in and checking out the Crash Course. We appreciate you taking part once again tonight, and we'll see you next time.